that we can share it in the Telegram, and we can start the daily in a couple of seconds. That's it. I have the link. Share it. All right, taking notes. Martin, do you want to start?
Sure. So I was, what did I do on Friday? I created some tickets related to the BLS so that we can, have more tickets for external contributors. I was working with Paul a little bit on some issues with Phoenix. Also, I wanted to take a look into the P2P code that Mega was working on. I wasn't able to get to that on Friday, but I'm definitely going to do that today. Also today, I finished some SSC implementation of Beacon Block Body that I had assigned to me for some reason. So yeah, I just did that. I think that there are some refactors that we could do on that area because it's some things are a little bit repetitive. So
That sounds great. In what area should we have refactors? I lost track in that part of the sentence.
yeah, for example, one thing that I saw is that we have like a field that this discussion we had, a field that it's a binary, but we want to read it as an integer. And now I have a container that has inside an execution payload that has that field. So I had to also like write a custom decode for something that should kind of work automatically. So maybe, for example, one refactor that I'm thinking is maybe on each SSC type, we could have an optional function encode or decode. For example, for execution payload, it says, okay, this field is an integer, the base field. And then if you have another container that contains this container, it just works out of the box because the decode function of SSC traverses all the fields and calls the decode if it exists, something like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
So
can I
having
can
some
write.
having some metadata that basically like makes you
Yes,
not repeat that behavior all over, right?
yeah, exactly. And that's one idea. Then I think like the way we are handling the minimal versus mainnet, because different configurations may end up in different structs. So right now we have like when that's the case, we have like a minimal, and then we have a mainnet implementation. If we could somehow make that a little maybe less explicit, or somehow like it just knows that with this configuration it has to do it this way or that way, and it's the user or the programmer doesn't have to do anything. That would be also nice, but uh, I still don't have a concrete way of doing it, but I'm sure there should be an easy way. So yeah, maybe I can create some tickets related to that to clean that up. And yeah, I'm also gonna look into the code Mega did on the P2P. I'm excited to see what's happening there.
That's very cool. Thanks for all of that. Paul, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. So mainly Friday and today I've been focusing on the Beacon API. So I've implemented the first PRs to add a Phoenix API to our project. So I was able to add the Phoenix library, and we're able to receive to run the server and receive calls. I also implemented the endpoints that we will need for the first milestone. So now we have an API. We also have the first endpoint, and it's callable, and it actually returns data. Now the only thing that doesn't quite work is just the way that we're supposed to run the server, in the sense that when you start, like let's say we do like IEX -S mix, then it compiles everything and then it runs project, but it doesn't start the server. And so to be able to start a server, I'm forced to pass like explicitly the command like phx.server. And so I was just I wanted to ask you, Thomas, and also potentially through your review, um, if the code was correct, but also if there was a way to be able to run the server automatically when we launch the app, because we will need it. Like, so the Beacon API um, is not normal behavior in the sense that usually when you run a consensus client, what you need to do is pass flags and you need to enable HTTP requests. So enable the Beacon API. Um, so it's like optional. So we need a way to add it or not add it, but which means that we also need a way to automatically start the server when we run the node. Um,
Yeah,
so
that's a very good series of questions. I will write about it a little bit more, but
oh, I don't hear
I'm
Yeah,
you.
mute
muted.
it.
Yeah, did I not say anything? Was I muted from the beginning or?
A good series of questions. That was the last thing.
Okay, thank you. So, what I was saying is that to summarize, the standard way of doing this is actually running, yeah, mix phx dot serve. That's the standard way of doing things. So that's a good finding on your side. Um, and there's like maybe two or three things that are important here. One of them is that there is a way of running that and also starting a console, which is nice for debugging and actually running stuff. Because like the awkward thing is when you run a server but you can't run any Elixir commands, and then if you want to test stuff, you can't. But there's a flag that you can pass it so that you can also run a console in the same terminal. That's on the one hand. And on the other hand, regarding to what you were saying on the you should be able to disable the server side, there's a Phoenix config that basically is called serve, and if you pass it a true value, then it serves, and if you pass it a false value, it doesn't start the server, and that's it. It's like a very simple thing, and we could eventually turn our we could give it our own flags to do that, but like initially I would just go with always enabling the server because it's basically free for us, like if it at this stage at least. So I wouldn't take care of that now, and then we can add an issue for making the like for making everything configurable and easy to configure from the beginning. The only thing that I would add is that it would be nice if users like not users like yeah, both users and developers could, instead of manually running mix phx.serve, which is kind of awkward, if they could write make run or make start or whatever, something like that, like very simple, very standard, that would be great. Like just adding a new target in the make file so that running the server is very easy, and they don't need to like remember by heart the Phoenix command. um, just like there are many other make targets, we can add a new one that the only thing it does is just bringing up the server with the terminal, and that's it. And I think that's the way we would make it like more usable for all of us, and also for other contributors, and also for users.
Okay, yeah, makes a lot of sense. So what you're saying is that there's no other way than running phx.serve to be able to run the server. Like it doesn't, you cannot like automatically run the server when just the application runs, because I added this I added the process name in the children of the application.ex, and even though I'm doing that, it doesn't automatically serve, and I'm
Yeah, because
forced to
this explicitly adds the like runs the server, like it makes it start. If you don't do that, it won't do it. Of course, we can build a CLI on top of this. Like we definitely can build a CLI with fully fledged flags all over the place with all of the options. We will eventually have that. Like that's definitely the way to go. So I'm aligned with you on this. I wouldn't I wouldn't preoccupy ourselves with that yet. Like I think it's too early to worry about that. At this time, if we have a make run that just starts everything and you have a console you can interact with at the same time, then that's great. Then we are like on the right path, and in just a week you manage to add Phoenix, like the first endpoints of the Beacon API, which is a great accomplishment in itself. So I would just like yeah, celebrate that and worry about the CLI for in future PRs, like maybe in the midterm, like in a month or so from now. Like we have other more prioritary things to worry about, I think.
Okay, sure. Then the PR should be ready.
That's awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. Congrats on that progress. What else? Yeah, Tomas, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. Well, last Friday I continued work on the networking component. I fixed the issue that was making it just like stop the rest of the processes from working. Uh, it was a thing with the NIF, the underlying NIF. After that, I tried to continue like thinking about the design that we should have to allow the rest of the components to easily extend or like consume the data gotten from that we get from the gossip, the peers gossip. Uh, I'm a bit blocked with that, so if Thomas can help me, the other Thomas.
Yeah, we can have a
uh,
meeting after this for that, just to
okay.
make sure that we
If you
because
feel
that's a tricky part, like designing the whole architecture for incoming data. That can be hard. We can go with a very simple architecture for now, but it's still not that easy, especially if it's your first time coding like a big Phoenix. Sorry, not Phoenix, a big Elixir app. So yeah, let's have a sync afterwards.
okay. Well, yeah, and that's what I need to work on the networking opponents.
That sounds perfect. Yeah, let's have a think about that. Um, okay, I'll continue then. I had a bad cold these last couple of days, so I haven't made a lot of progress. On the one hand, I've been listing all of the databases that everyone is using. I've seen that some projects are using LevelDB, some others are using VaultDB. Uh, there's also little variations of those. So I'm just like listing everything, listing the technologies they use, uh, how hard it is to integrate with them from the standpoint of an Elixir app. And also, I'm just like what I'm doing today is exploring the Lighthouse application just to see what are the points where they call for storage, and if the same strategies make sense for us. They do it in a very like trade heavy way because they have a very high level Rust implementation. Like they did a they chose one design strategy, which is making the storage as pure as possible, and then implementing like specific storages for their key for specific key for the specific key value store that they are doing. I don't think that we will have such a level of abstraction from the get go. Um, but that's not the main worry for us. Like what we are trying to see for now is, on the one hand, what are the typical solutions and if they are viable for us, and on the other hand, what are the main places where they are using storage. Like what, like for instance, on attestations, on state changes, what kind of things they are saving, how frequently. If they, for instance, I know that there are different consensus implementations that take instead of saving every state, they just save like this state and then one that's like 3 blocks afterwards, and then they calculate the in state in betweens if they need to, like on if the beacon API requests to read one of the intermediate ones. So yeah, we will probably not optimize as much from the beginning, but I'm trying to see at least what others are doing in this sense. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. Haven't made as I was saying, I had a cold and I'm just recovering. I didn't make much progress, But my goals for today are sync with Tomas for the design of the networking part, and then continue with this research and hopefully have something for tomorrow midday. So yeah, that's it for me. Any final comments or questions? That is awesome. Thank you,
Just
everyone. Sorry, were you saying anything, Paul?
no, just let me know if you're able to review the PR that I made on the Phoenix.
Of course, I will do that as well. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I'll sync with Tomas. I'll review some PRs, and then I'll continue with the database review. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, and sorry. Anyway, thanks all for joining, and see you all tomorrow.